Nigeria is heading towards 2027 elections. Campaigns are warming up. Politicians are rehearsing their promises. But beneath all that noise lies a deeper, more uncomfortable question. Is Nigeria even settled enough to be holding elections? Our guest today, Tony Nnadi, says the problem is not who rules Nigeria, but whether Nigeria, as currently constituted, is even legitimately agreed upon. He is the co-convener of Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, a movement pushing for a fundamental renegotiation of Nigerian Union. So tonight we ask, is Nigeria negotiable? Can it be restructured? Or are we simply recycling leadership inside a broken system? Tony Nnadi, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We've been planning this for a long time, and finally it's happening. So welcome to the show. And the way we start the show is that we start with the stories in the news. Today, everywhere in the world, people are talking about the situation in Iran, the crisis there, the war between Iran and the United States, also Israel, which has impact on Africa, Nigeria in particular. So what do you see when you look at the situation in Iran?
Well, I wish it was just another remote incident in a far location. But the fact that if we were to reverse the question to read, why is the US in Iran today? So that you can relate to us on the global village that the world has become. Iran has been breeding export grade terror. Iran has been breeding terror for export to the rest of the world. And there we saw Hezbollah, there we saw Hamas, there we saw Al-Shabaab and all the other, there we saw ISIS in Nigeria, there we saw ISWAP it became, and all that. And so the US, for its own national security objectives, because they are the prime target of that export, that terror that will be exported from Iran. And that's exactly what Nigeria is guilty of. That's why Nigeria was designated a country of particular concern alongside Iran. You recall that it was in 2020 that designation happened, right after our 7-month exchanges in Washington D.C. And so it is that the head of the snake is Iran, but there are young elements of that snake breeding. We have 8 terror organizations in Nigeria, all connected to Iran in one form or the other. And so right next after Iran, Nigeria is on the queue, breeding terror for global export. That's where we are.
So do you think that the United States should be playing the role of going across the world and dealing with countries that they don't agree with in any way they wanted to deal with them? Is that what you are suggesting? If you said that Nigeria is going to be next,
it's so easy to simplify it like that, and but when we look at it closer, who else suffered the 911 grade of attack? Who else, is being called out every day that say, "Oh, death to America," and all of that. And so it's a matter of being more exposed than others, and taking responsibility for your own safety. If you know before 911 and after 911. You could see all of what has happened not only on their soil but everywhere. So there is a more fundamental question of why should anybody take it upon himself like Iran has done to be breeding terror that will be present everywhere else in the world. And when you listen to their rhetoric, you see them in the US, you see them in the UK, you see them all over Europe, talking about how they are going to take over the entire place. And you've seen it happening. You've seen it happening in the city where you are. You've seen what they've turned the UK into, where they're now you see what they're trying to do in Houston and all of that. So there's a clear and present danger, because they are not coming to cohabit with you. They are saying they have to take it over for themselves, and they're going to kill whoever doesn't agree with them. Is that the kind of thing you say, okay, let me leave it where it is for now until it comes to my space? No. The commons, the rational thing to do is to go to try to stop it where it is. Otherwise, they are not content with being in charge in their own space. No, they are targeting the whole global community for control. They want to forcefully convert everybody to their own faith, whatever it means to them. But that's the only way to be alive. If you don't agree with them, they kill you. And they are constantly, all the money they realize from the sale of crude oil and other kinds of things they are able to export goes into financing of terror. And when you look around, you will see that it's a problem that needs to be addressed. So if it falls on the shoulders of the US to lead in that, because they will be the prime target, they will suffer more than others when that terror begins to manifest in the form it can manifest, and we've seen quite a bit of it. You wouldn't say that they're just going around looking for who to be. Why are they not in other countries where there are other problems? No, they're just. It is the ones that affect them that they have to go deal with. That's my reading of it.
Yeah, but Tony, the people who understand Islam in northern Nigeria will tell you that most of the people who are supported by Iran, they are not the people who are actually historically have caused the problems in Nigeria. There are people who are supported by the Shia. I want to be accurate that what I'm saying, by Saudi Arabia. So if you even the 9/11 you mentioned, there were people from Saudi Arabia, not people from Iran, that caused that. So how do you rationalize this?
Well, you see how.
I can't hear you, Tony.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. No, how do you square this with what you just said? Because in Saudi Arabia, historically, the people who are supporting most of the groups that are operating in Nigeria, not Iran, and even the 9/11 attack, they were Saudis, not people from Iran.
Well, the problem, the extra problem there is that there's Israel that is next door, and there is a Hamas that is operating next door from Gaza. There's another Hezbollah next door, from Lebanon. And you see the Houthis, you see, how am I supposed to make a distinction? How am I to know the difference between the Shia and the Shiite and all kinds of, it comes to where, as long as Sharia is in the picture, it becomes a problem. Whether it's coming from Saudi or coming from, I don't know. The thing is that Iran has made itself notorious for all of what. You remember once upon a time, 13 container loads of missiles suddenly surfaced in Apapa port. 13 container loads of missiles. Eventually, it was traced to be coming from Iran. For what purpose? For what use? And it's the problem is that there is something that is inherently evil that place no value whatsoever in human. In fact, they owe it a duty of faith to kill everybody else who doesn't agree with them as infidels. And so the situation has become urgent for. It could well be first for Israel, but if every time they threaten, they call the names of the countries that look at what has become of Nigeria. Remove that Islamic, extremism and the Sharia that comes with it, and see whether Nigeria wouldn't have made much more progress than we have made so far. They have become, you can see, they impose Sharia. Did they explain to me whether it was Saudi people or Iranian people that influenced them into imposing Sharia that set Nigeria back by 500 years. Those are the kind of things. And it's just a matter of we can do without their Sharia. If we can't have a union of sanctity of life and a union of equality of men, which they forbid. On one hand, it is Sharia that requires them to kill me as infidel. On the other, they are also into feudalism, in which it is forbidden that I should be of equal ranking with them. All those things are mixed up, and so it becomes a setback. It becomes something of a roadblock to progress. That's how Nigeria got to where it is now. If you listen closely to the Washington hearings at the Congress concerning Nigeria, you'll see how they all connected in terms of
we'll get to that.
What could be responsible for what.
Tony, we get to all that. We get to Nigerian issues. So let me play this video for you and get your take at the end. So last week, we saw this spectacle that happened in the United Kingdom. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was given a state visit. What is your take on that? What do you think about the whole thing, what he came back with, the promises and the deals they told us they signed? What is your take? Can you hear me, Tony?
Okay. It's tragic that a man who Nigeria is already a disputed union, whether anybody understands that or not. Yeah.
Following President Muhammadu Buhari's departure on Sunday for the 76th UN General Assembly in New York, self-determination groups threatened that they would hold their biggest march yet on September 24th, the day the president will address the United Nations General Assembly. The agitators listed 6 demands ahead of their protests. They include the abolition of the 1999 Constitution, the suspension of further elections, particularly the 2023 elections, conduct of a referendum, an end to Fulani genocide, as well as an end to oligarchy, and the declaration of Maeti Allah as a terrorist organization. Well, in a statement, the chairman of the Yoruba group, Professor Banji Akintoye, was quoted as saying, rather than listen to the yearnings and aspirations of our people, the Buhari-led government has consistently waged war against people who attempt to checkmate the menace of Maeti Allah in the name of grazing cows. He said the groups would face Buhari on the 24th to tell him to his face that the Maeti Allah are the #1 enemy of the people of the South and Middle Belt of Nigeria, and they are the authentic terrorists. Dr. Abati, I guess the United Nations is the biggest platform for these agitators to express their wish.
Well, first, what the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance on Self-Determination is trying to do, basically, by going to be a part of the general debate, that's the United Nations General Assembly, it's otherwise also called the general debate, is to draw attention to the situation in Nigeria in terms of their grievances. And if you look at those things that you've listed, they want Maeti Allah classified as a terrorist organization. They want an end to oligarchy. They want, the Nigerian constitution to be abolished. They want the right to self-determination. Now, all of these groups, from the South, from the Middle Belt, and other parts of Nigeria, majorly minority ethnic nationalities and also other groups, they're insisting on their right to self-determination. And, their choice of the United Nations led by Professor Banji Akintoye, is understandable. The UN Charter in Article 1 and also Article 55 thereof, talks about the right to self-determination as one of those important, post-war, rights of communities, of peoples. And it simply means that a people have the right to determine their own future. Now, before this 1 million march, they call it, the NINAS, that's the acronym, as decided upon, they had also appealed. First, the Yoruba group, the Yoruba Nation Agitators, joined the UNPO, that's the body for underrepresented peoples of the world. Two, the entire group, NINAS, appealed to global financial institutions not to lend money to Nigeria again, because they say that Nigeria is a disputed project. But I think what is important in this regard is that, look, along the spectrum of positions, of choices, options, before the various ethnic nationalities involved in that group, that is led by Professor Akintoye, what is important is that the Nigerian government should provide an opportunity to talk to them.
Exactly what?
The UN protests, we give them visibility. They are not the only ones who go there. Anybody can go and be part of the general debate and push their case. But at the end of the day, Nigeria will be responsible for its own people's interests. And that's why we keep saying the opportunity should be provided in Nigeria for dialogue, for conversation among the various ethnic nationalities.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for staying. Tony is back. Tony, can you hear me? Tony, can you hear me? Tony, can you hear me? All right, Tony, you still cannot hear me. Okay, good, thank God. All right, so we stopped by, what did we stopped at the point where you were talking about Iran and everything, but let's go to, okay, so we talked about what happened in the UK, where President Tinubu
I saw the clip.
You saw the clip, yeah, okay. So I wanted to know, what do you make of that? Why he went there, what he brought back, especially that he left the day after they killed some Nigerians in Maiduguri and left with everybody. National Security Advisor. What do you make of that?
Yeah. That's what we've been living with, a completely detached government that is entirely on its own flight, not bothered about what is going on with the people, and you were going to go to a UK that is like the UK is sinking. Their calculations in getting out of European Union was basically to dump themselves on Nigeria, their former colony. In the period they had helped push Buhari to take charge of Nigeria in the Sharia that was Nigeria. They were going to recolonize Nigeria to refloat their own economy, because they will now have us like a captive market for this 230 million that could be 250 million if you count the neighboring West African populations that depend on what happens in Nigeria. Britain, was coming to reinsert their teeth into our skin to suck. And so there was some kind of delay in that plan when Buhari had to leave. And then his right-hand man, Tinubu, comes in and, just continues from where they stop. And so Britain is just looking for how to continue in that plan. And it's like going to the coven. Bola Tinubu, Nigeria is already disputed. The Tinubu that did not win any election, that marauded his way to government house. Of course, we took a position. We say this is an interregnum. Yes, he's in government house, but he doesn't have the mandate to govern, and he's doing exactly whatever he came to do, and that's what has become the lot of Nigeria and Nigerians. Is going to the UK in search of progress for Nigeria, the very UK, the listeners, I challenge you, right on your device or wherever you can get access YouTube from, click and search out the title, Nigeria, the Pyramid of Evil. I repeat, Nigeria, the Pyramid of Evil, so that you can see what we said about the role of Britain for what has become of Nigeria, for what has always been the situation of Nigeria. From 1914, even before then, but let's even take it from 1914, Britain is responsible for the calamities and the woes of Nigeria. Britain is the last place anybody will want to go. And you had Charles their king talking about Nigeria taking its rightful place in the Commonwealth of Nations. Commonwealth of Nations is a gathering of the association of British slave countries, and no country in its right mind will be in Commonwealth for any reason. Who is proud of coming to be associated with being a slave to the other? But that's what Charles was inviting his guests to take Nigeria back to. And then they said they're taking loan. Put a map of Nigeria on the table and see where those projects are. You use your constitution to lock down the port facilities. Is the constitution of Nigeria and its exclusive list. That's the reason everything is the way that they do it. You lock down your security arrangement. It's not working. You lock down your infrastructure arrangement. It's not working. You lock down everything that is possible, 68 items, and borrowing money. And then you bring that money, look at where the projects will be cited. Look at the money to be borrowed will be used to buy things from Britain that they couldn't have found anywhere to sell at this time. So it's bad, bad, and bad all through. But I blame the Nigerians who are not raising the fundamental question of the union itself. The constitution we have right now is one in which we're held in this union against our will. And then somebody jumps to Abuja, says he's president, and goes, Tinubu have been signing off our sovereignty everywhere. And I don't think, even if it was elected properly, I don't think the mandate of the president includes signing off the sovereignty of the people. Look at what has happened with the US in how they had to come here. Are we still in? Is our sovereignty still with us? Is our sovereignty still with us? And the peoples of that territory, the ones they call Nigerians, as if there's some spell holding them from asking the questions they should be asking concerning these matters. Our union is disputed, and somebody is now frittering whatever is left of our sovereignty in these matters. That outing in the UK is a demonstration of how low we have sunk in all things. And if anybody is rejoicing that he went to bring anything, he went to bring liability to us, very serious liability, and it will be challenged. I'm happy you played the clip where we raised a global alert about the dispute. Nigeria is now a disputed project. Britain, that is lending money to Bola Tinubu, cannot pretend they do not know. So whatever they are doing will be overtaken by the collapse of that constitution. And if anybody is stupid enough to think that the constitution that we didn't make, we took our sovereignty, and we're doing everything to recover that sovereignty, they ignore it, talking about the election and whose turn it is to come and manage the criminal enterprise that Nigeria has become under that constitution. Everything will go down. They are building on a foundation that does not exist. They are building on a foundation that is bound to collapse. Everything they put on it will go down with it. Let Britain lend more money to Tinubu, but they will have to go and recover it from him wherever they find him in the time of recovery.
Okay, we'll get in-depth analysis of the constitution and what's going on and what you want, what your group, what you are demanding. But let me get your view on one more thing. The Americans came to Nigeria. In the news, we heard that they have about 200 troops in Bauchi, and they also have a series of drones helping Nigeria to gather intelligence.
Right.
The Nigerians are divided. There are people who are saying that we don't want Americans in our country. There are people who are saying they should be there and they should help us fight the insecurity going on. Where do you stand? Did you want the Americans to come into Nigeria and play this role?
When in 2019, we went to Washington, it was because our compatriots in the Nigerian Union had turned on us with their Sharia and their terror. Buhari, their champion, Fulani champion. There's a Fulani conquest agenda ongoing. People may want to pretend, but those who live in the disaster it has become for them, the Fulani conquest agenda that brought Uthman Danfodio, the Fulani conquest agenda that raised Ahmadu Bello as the new champion, also produced the Buhari that threw our borders open, inviting Fulani from all over the sub-region and the wider Sahel to come so that together they will kill off the owners of this place. They are not making any pretenses about wanting to take the entire Nigeria. Ethnic cleansing, that's what's going on. And because they had managed to impose a constitution that makes it impossible for anybody to challenge them, because they have almost a monopoly control of all the guns in the land by the instrumentality of the exclusive list on that constitution. The economic assets that are supposed to be yours and mine, again, confiscated by virtue of that constitution. Ijo is crying today and the Niger Delta about their resource. It is that constitution that took the resource. There's nothing that is going to bring back their resource to them except that constitution goes down. And so, in the midst of all of those things they managed to they impose from the war of genocide that they levied in 1967, that constitution that makes them the owners of our sovereignty and everything was the victory charter they imposed from that war. Go back again to the role of Britain in how it became war and how it was ended and how it became constitution when Murtala Muhammad came in 1975. And so the Fulani imposed that constitution to tie the hands of everybody else to the back. And they then begin this, ethnic cleansing and land grabbing that goes with it. You can see they've swept over the upper north. They've been sweeping across the middle belt. They are now in the south. Look at what's going on in Kwara that has become Oyo now. How many days ago did they go into the Cocoa Institute in Ibadan? That's how close they are to the Atlantic waterfront. You look through Kogi, beyond the Benue, the flank where they were coming from. Just drive back and see that we are under invasion. And Buhari, what we went to tell Washington in 2019 was that these people, in collaboration and joint venture with ISIS, the terror networks of the Middle East, are relocating to the West African sub-region, and that Buhari was their chief host, and that is a Fulani conquest agenda that is reinforcing itself in that joint venture. Fulani will take the entire land, killing off the indigenous people, and then the terror networks will have a sovereign space to operate like they wanted to establish in Syria and Iraq before they were challenged by the US and their allies. So they've just moved down to our space. They want to collapse Nigeria, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso into one big caliphate. That was what we went to tell the US at the time. And that if it is ISIS that is incubating ISWAP through Boko Haram in Nigeria, and the sovereign assets of Nigeria are now at the risk of being put in the hands of these terror networks masquerading as government, because that's Buhari was the life grand patron of Miyetti Allah. Buhari was the spokesman of Boko Haram. You remember when they put Jonathan under such pressure and all of that. So he was their champion, Fulani champion, and he's extreme Islamic champion to the extent of Boko Haram and Fulani headsmen that was the enterprise of the Miyetti Allah that Buhari was their life grand patron. What are we saying? That we went to tell the US that the terror you remember it was in January 2019. President Trump had just declared victory over the ISIS and all of who they were fighting in Syria at the time. And we came a week or so after to say, no. The people you are declaring victory over they are relocated to our space. And that if the US does not come along very quickly, that it might become something several times bigger in size, bigger in threat to the US, And it became something of national security concern that they needed to interrogate further. It took 7 months from that January all the way to the end of July. The U.S. subjected what we brought to them into to serious examination, to serious interrogation. The committees in the House in charge of the matter, the same committee chaired by Chris Smith, the same committee chaired by Ted Cruz. We went back and forth. We had to make a proposition to them for what needed to be done. That was where we pointed the constitution that the Fulani imposed on the rest of Nigeria to tie our hands to the back, to advance their conquest mission, to take over the entire place. And if they're taking it and they are doing it in joint venture with the terror networks, this place will be far worse than whatever anybody has seen in the Middle East. And the matter was taken all the way to the UN Security Council. Remember in 2019 when, after we left Washington, the US got, they used their reach in the UN system to get that rapporteur mission of Agnes Callamard. Listeners can Google right now, Agnes Callamard. Find out why the UN was the one that came to say in September of 2019 that the constitution of Nigeria that oppressed like pressure cooker for injustice. It's reason Nigeria will snap except something is done very quickly. It's reason Nigeria is bleeding on all sides. And that the global community will be under serious threat should Nigeria snap in the manner it could snap, because the terror networks are already converged here. And so you have 200-300 million people, because if Nigeria snaps, you can imagine that the entire West Africa will be down with it almost in a matter of hours or days at the most. And so these terror networks will have this number of close to 300 million people that are dislocated. The rest of the world will pay in blood. That was what was the outcome of that UN, rapporteur mission at the behest of the United States. So I'm just informing us that it was the interrogation of that entire situation that led to the CPC designation of Nigeria. It came directly from that. So those who are pretending now they don't know how America got here, it is in their national security, interest. It's something that was breeding for them. The same way Iran was breeding and has been breeding terror. Nigeria began to breed the terror that will come just on behalf of Iran, that will come back for the US. And so they had the discipline to listen. And then they said to us, what do you say can be done? We then pointed at the constitution that empowered the Fulani to be doing what they're doing in Nigeria. Did you notice in that hearing that happened on Capitol Hill in February of 2026, did you notice that they talked about what kind of constitution will allow the Fulani to be roaming about with guns, AK-47 in Nigeria? Did you notice that even in the event that will happen on Wednesday in Washington concerning Nigeria, do you notice that constitution has become the centerpiece? The intervention of the U.S., what the U.S. came to do here is to take out the terror networks that are already operating here. And they can't get to the root of that problem without taking down the constitution of Nigeria. Let those who need to hear it now. The U.S. mission in Nigeria, this military mission, at the back end of it is that constitution that put the guns in the hands of the Fulani. And so let nobody think it's Tony Nnadi that is crying about constitution. Go and find out what they will do on Wednesday in Washington and see whether that constitution is not at the center of their mission. That constitution is going down, and those who imposed it, who are refusing to listen, who are dragging us to election at a time we should be discussing what to do with you. We don't have no union. You put my signature on a document I didn't make. You took my sovereignty and all my economic assets and monopoly over gone. And look at what has become of all of us. Nigerians are running in every direction, seeking for wherever they can be accommodated. And then this fellow goes to sign with the British to deport whoever they don't want in their place. Can you see the kind of mess we have gotten into? It is that constitution that is responsible for every single thing anybody is crying about in Nigeria. And the people who are not listening to what we are saying, pretending that we have a Nigeria that is settled, pretending that we have a Nigeria that is a democracy, pretending that the election that will bring a better candidate is what we are looking for. I'm sorry for all of them, because it is by virtue of elections that this renewal of the life of that constitution have been ongoing 7 electoral cycles. Let us accept that we have a problem. Let us stop the pretense and go to solve that problem. People are dying in the numbers we see. You talked about the Meduguri that happened before they traveled to go to look for loan in UK, or to go to drink wine with Charles and the wife. You see the kind of nonsense. People are dying. They have impoverished with the economic policies they've had to roll out, because it's not the Nigeria they are running is not our Nigeria. Our Nigeria died in 1966. Let us dress back and rework it. Let's go to transition. The people who are heading to election, we are going to treat them. We are going to treat those who are going to election under this constitution as we would treat Fulani herdsmen with AK-47. Anybody who is prepared to swear to defend and uphold this constitution at this time, because if you win the election, you are going to have to defend. You are going to swear to and govern by that constitution. And so anybody who is still doing business with this constitution after 27 years from 1999 is the enemy number one. There's no punishment too harsh for anybody. That means all the political parties in Nigeria, because they're the ones dragging the people into that mess. Why can't we accept that this constitution cannot be basis of union? Is the blood flow not enough already?
Okay, Tony, when you were speaking, I was just thinking about, you talked about the Constitution, and that the goal or ultimate goal of the United States is to make sure that the Constitution is changed. The issue about Sharia in the Constitution has come up, and some people in the northern part of the country are saying that Sharia will never leave the Constitution. They insist that they must have their Sharia in the Constitution. How is that going to happen, that US or any group, or your group or any group, will take out the Sharia out of the Constitution?
It is because they do not understand the meaning of Constitution, that they are running their mouth in their illiterate heads. Constitution, if you want to understand the meaning, so you can understand the foolishness of their position. Constitution, we go to that preamble. We, the peoples of Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity forever. Is that not how it began? Then he goes on to say, do hereby make and give unto ourselves the following constitution. That is to say, that constitution is reason when a union. No other reason. That constitution is a license the Fulani has to come to Anambra and Port Harcourt and Ibadan and Ondo to kill people. And so, if that constitution is defeated today, and I want the listeners who are thinking about the betterment of Nigeria, or how to save Nigeria from all of what has been going on in Nigeria, what we set out to do, which we have invited those who also have a stake in what will happen here, like the ones who suffer terror, the US that will suffer terror, if that constitution doesn't go down, is that constitution will go down. The union of Nigeria is anchored upon 100%. The union of Nigeria is anchored on that constitution. That union is at an end the moment that constitution goes down. It's not as if we can't take down the constitution by more radical means. But we don't want to go to Somalia. And that's why we're inviting everybody through the force majeure to say, let's accept this problem for what it is and go into transition that South Africa did with apartheid in 1990 to get themselves out of tell me the difference between what the Boers did to the blacks for all the many years until that apartheid constitution was taken out. That's the problem we have to solve now. And so, those who are talking about Sharia that must be there for all times, it is their ignorance that blindfolds them, and in fact their stupidity that blindfolds them into not seeing that if we can't sort out that constitution, then the union is at an end. We're not begging anybody. We're not begging them to agree with us. You put my signature on a document of title that now make you the owner of my land. And we work from 1999 that this movement began to, call everybody, including the government. Obasanjo was president at the time. I knew how much we invested in trying to get Obasanjo to preside over how these things are reworked. He went to national TV to go threaten us, to say that if we call a meeting of the owners of Nigeria, you remember Pronaco, Obasanjo said it will be treason. Today he's going about now I don't know what he thinks he's talking about. He had all the opportunity. He had 8 years. And this matter was brought to him in the very month he was being, in the very week he was sworn in as a president in 1999, to say this constitution that came from, from the time of what went wrong in 1966 to how it became war. Obasanjo was on the table every step of the way. Obasanjo was Nzogu's roommate. Obasanjo returned to Nigeria the day the coup was happening in 1966. Obasanjo was at the tail end of that war, the one who had to receive the instrument of surrender. Obasanjo was the Minister of Works that did not do the 3 R's in terms of reconstruction. Obasanjo was the Chief of Staff to Murtala Mohammed that toppled Gowon and became head himself. And then Murtala Mohammed commissioned this unitary arrangement. Then he got killed in February of 1976. Obasanjo it was who then convened the Constituent Assembly of 1977. So at every point in time, it was Obasanjo that helped this caliphate to impose this constitution since 1979. And it was the same Obasanjo they had to go to bring from prison to now revive it in 1999. And so we felt that this is the witness to what went wrong with Nigeria. A day will come when Obasanjo will be compelled to tell the truth concerning what his role had been in this carnage called Nigeria. In this setback to the black man all over the world. Obasanjo is at the center of how it all went wrong. And he can't speak the truth. And we're insisting now that there's no diplomacy to be employed anymore. That constitution must go down. Those who hang on to it, going to election under it, thinking that they have Nigeria, threatening us that it must be Sharia or nothing. The alternative is that there's no union with them. And if they don't understand what it is, they better go take a few lessons in geography. They better go to look at all the maps that had accompanied our campaign. At every point in time, we have the Yoruba constitution completely ready. I'm sure you hear them go to TV all the time announcing it. We have what will happen in the Middle Belt completely ready. We have what will happen in the southern, the rest of the southern, that's the lower Niger area. That's the combination of the old eastern region and midwestern region, but as ethnic Ijo sitting with Ogoni, Anang, Efik. That was what we went to do in the Solemn Assembly in Port Harcourt in 2015. So the entire country is ready, including the Hausa. Where have you ever been to Fulani land in Nigeria that they'll be threatening people in the... Look at the kind of nonsense that Gumi will be speaking about all the time. Look at the kind of nonsense that Syed Abubakar that says Sultan is Sokoto. Sultan of what? Where's the land of the Fulani in this matter? Where's Fulani land in Nigeria? That they'll be threatening everybody is because they were dealing with idiots who did not ask the sovereignty question all this while. They were our own politicians who would they allow to come and be president, after they, that's what they've been discussing with them all these many years. But that's entirely in the past. We are now discussing our sovereignty. We are not interested in who is president and who is next after him. We are discussing the union. We are discussing the terms of the union. They are two separate questions. Are we in a union? Remember how Bola Ige put the question. Then we must ask ourselves whether we still want to continue in a union. Because the constitution on the table is such a fraud that we will not take it as basis of union going forward. We've done everything we need to do to get the owners of the sovereignty to carry on with their life without this setback operating as Sharia. If they are not prepared to if they can't comport themselves, the business will be done without them. That Nigeria defined by this constitution will be dissolved. We don't need any meeting, like a marriage that fails. Do you need a meeting to work out on a marriage?
So Tony, we'll come back to this, but I want to get your view on this issue. Right. When I met you, I don't remember the first time, but in 2019, you talked about genocide in Nigeria, eventually it became an issue. It became an international story. At the point that some people, including the Bishop Kuka, is now saying that there is no genocide. Even the governor of Benue State saying that there is no genocide in Nigeria. What do you make of that? Did they change their position, or is there anything going on that we don't know?
both of them, for Kuka, is a pity that somebody who has presented himself as a man of God, who is supposed to be on the side of the people, a shepherd of the people, is going to join, it has become the agent of Nigeria to go to deny the killings that everybody can see. As for the one in Benue, governor, again, it's just a tragedy that he's also a Catholic priest. Is there something the Roman Catholic Church is not telling us in Nigeria about their role in the midst of all of what has been going wrong? The governor that left before the one that is a reverend gentleman now, Ali or whatever they call him, Autumn, was governor in that same place. Autumn witnessed I wouldn't say the beginnings, the escalation that happened while he was governor. We went to the place. I, on behalf of the organization I represent, and we examined what was happening, and we worked out with him what he could do to put guns in the hands of those who have been slaughtered, because the complicity of the federal government, especially under Buhari, which has continued, I'm sure you heard it from Washington, which has continued under Tinubu, the complicity of the government of Nigeria in this genocidal killing, no longer a matter for debate. Otherwise, how else can anybody explain it? That Gumi goes to meet with the killers. And he told us of recent on national TV that on every occasion he had to go to meet the killers, the terrorists, that the government security people go with him, that he had never gone alone. So the Gumi knows where these people are. The government knows where they are. How come nobody is able to reach them? And to that extent, the ones who come to lie. You remember that when we were in Washington in 2019, you remember that Buhari dispatched Osinbajo to come to tell the same lie. Osinbajo the pastor, Osinbajo the professor, Osinbajo the Christian. And what did he get in Washington? They called him a shameless liar to his face. They are killing your people. And they sent you to come to lie to us that no such killings were taking place. Is that not the same thing Kuka and the earlier governor are doing today? To come to lie in a situation where the people are actually coming. You saw McConnell, you saw all the people who have been coming to, you saw the Riley Moore committee that came, and they are lying that people are not being killed. They may say, oh, Christian genocide. The further illumination that NINAS brought to Washington concerning the matter is that it doesn't stop at Christian genocide. It is something wider than that, because it is first the Fulani conquest agenda that targets everybody. The only thing is that most of those in the Middle Belt, the place where they are now, are Christians. And so, as they kill them off and take their land, it's just Christian majority. But why are they killing in Zamfara, in Niger, in Kebbi, and all kinds of other places where they in Katsina? What's the offense of those people? Because they own land that Fulani want to take. They are not Fulani, therefore they get killed. And so it is a genocide affecting the entire population, but preponderant Christian, because they happen to be Christian. And so if it is called Christian genocide, of course, it cannot be dismissed as being wrong, but it is something, the Fulani element. I'm sure when you listen more closely to the discussions going on in Washington concerning Nigeria, you see that Fulani has now emerged as the ones organizing that crime. And they are wearing the garment of, just like Uthman Danfodio did. Was it not Sharia that Uthman Danfodio came to present the purer Islam to the Hausa indigenous owners of that land? It's the same trick. And so they make it look like it's a jihad, so that they can attract the support they can get from Saudi Arabia or Iran. But bottom line is that it is Fulani that is trying to take over the entire place. Once you understand that, you then begin to fit the other elements in the picture back. Yes, Christian majority being killed, but it is Fulani conquest agenda wearing the disguise of jihad.
So, Tony,
and then masquerading as a herdsmen as they move around in that order.
Okay, Tony, a lot of people, they've listened to you for a long time now, from 2019. Yes. And some of them are looking at the situation and they are saying, like, when you started, like in 2019, you had Professor Banji Akintoye as chairman of NINAS, I believe. He was a member, he was involved, and that he's no longer part of it. This year, we saw Sunday Boho, who was championing for Yoruba Nation, essentially abandoned that, and he's now singing on your mandate we stand. And I'm sure that you probably have met Tinubu before he became president, and that Tinubu being
he went from Nadeko to becoming governor, so he's not a stranger to this process. He was very much involved, very much involved.
Okay, good. But now he has the power, but what is he doing? And then his people are arguing that he's implementing those changes. They are saying that, this is idea of state police. It's a way of changing the constitution to make the states to be independent of the federal government. So what do you make of this? The fact that most of the people who were part of the struggle, what you're pushing for, either they've abandoned ship, joined the federal government, or that they are no longer interested. What's going on?
No, these are flawed characters from beginning. What we're doing was clearly articulated in writing, a 20-year plan drawn up in 1999 and being implemented meticulously according to design. Banji Akintoye was invited by the Yoruba who were involved with us sometime in 2018. That was his first coming to be near us. By then, we had done most of what we needed to do, but the people who are supposed to be the Yoruba, they said that their people don't know them enough. So they were looking for who will be able to command, who will be able to speak from our midst that will be Yoruba face. So it doesn't look like something being organized by one part or the other. He was in that search for who could be the Yoruba face in our midst. At his age at the time, with his exposure, professor in the history field, and it fell on him to be we made him chairman for several reasons, but he was less than 2 years in our midst, to the point where he did something for which we had to expel him because he endangered the project itself by crafting a lie. I don't know who. It must be this kind of a thing going on. It was later we began to see the long hands of the same man who is president now in the background of many things that were happening in our fold, because he happened to have been involved with us. So there are many people he can reach. I mean, the Tinubu that is president now. You remember it was Nadeko that became Pronaco. Nadeko dealt with the soldiers that had to leave the government house. Then Pronaco, the same conveners, Enohoro, Soyinka, Admiral Kano, Ukiwe, the same conveners of Nadeko had to now carry on when the politicians amongst them, including Tinubu that went to the governor in Lagos, when the politicians had branched off to pursue their own undertakings, the balance of what was the core of Nadeko, and I'm not reporting this matter from the sidelines, I'm reporting it as a participant, even before the 99. And so the constitution by which that democracy will be, worked was not settled at the time the soldiers retreated in 1999. So it was to get out a constitution that was acceptable to people since 1967 Aburi. That was what Pronaco was basically Aburi too. But not soldiers discussing, but the ethnic nationalities who identified the owners of the territories that the British amalgamated in 1914. That was the basis of coming. Ijo, stand on Ijo land. Ogoni, stand on Ogoni land. Tiv, stand on Tiv land. Igbo, stand on Igbo land. Yoruba, stand on Yoruba land. We identified them. We invited them to come to discuss. We invited the government of the day because our sovereignty is not in the hands of government. These charlatans that are now sitting in Abuja and talking about how National Assembly will make constitution, and including even lawyers in the land, including professors of law and senior advocates, discussing how National Assembly will make constitution. Our sovereignty belongs to, resides with the people invariably, in terms of you can't change from that. It is their land and the owners of the land that make up the sovereignty. Yoruba in Yoruba land. Nigeria is an aggregation of those sovereignties. 1914, no consultation. 1960, after Lancaster House manipulations, they abandoned it even before it took effect. That was how Awolowo ended up in prison. But by 1966, they now threw it overboard completely. Next was 1979 when they again imposed something. By 1999, they reimposed it. So we've not been allowed, the owners of the sovereignty have not been allowed to discuss their union. But that is exactly what NINAS has succeeded in doing, despite all the opposition by succession of governments. And so the ones who come in and they hop in, they hop out, for every one person that comes and goes, there are 1,000 others that you don't know the number of people who are trooping towards us. They may not be rowdy on the street for now, but in the days ahead, because they now, some of them who are pleading with us to say, just one more time, let's find somebody who is more agreeable to us. Peter Obi began his campaign in 2022 for presidential election of 2023 by declaring that the Constitution of Nigeria is not the problem with Nigeria, that it is the leadership Peter, will provide that is the solution to Nigeria. And not that he has never heard about this thing. Peter Obi has been knowing about this thing that the rest of the country is hearing right now from 2012. Let those who can find him ask him whether he attended the convention in Orlando in 2012 when he was the governor in Anambra, where Chinua Achebe had invited our people to come to listen to how we can come out of this mess we have been in 2021. You remember when he said that Nigeria was like a vehicle with a knocked engine, and therefore that the search should not be for a new driver, which is new president.
All right.
The search for replacement of the vehicle. So how did we come to where, where did Peter Obi find the engine to load the obedient movement people that he took to election in 2023? And we are certain about what has to happen. And he's still warming up to go to contest election under that constitution. He's only validating what these people are doing. He's only validating the journey of Tinubu that will renew his mandate, his stolen mandate. That's what anybody going to election now. 34 governors have moved to one camp. INEC is still what it was. The judiciary is still what it was. With judgments that are being written from executive branch. The police heritage, you can see who left and who came in. So what will happen now to become a new outcome better than what could have happened in 2023 that didn't happen? That constitution is the problem that we need to solve. Those who are not listening now will be the victims of their own ignorance in this matter, because it's a question of life and slaughtered all over the place.
Okay, Tony, one last question before we take a break, and I invite our audience to join us. There are people who maybe they're allies of the government. They say that if you look at the Constitution as it is now, that the people who represent different places in the country at the National Assembly, that they are the voice of those people they represent. And they said that they will point out that under Buhari, one of the things on the exclusive list was removed, a generation of electricity. That under Tinubu, they are also trying to change state police. They are saying, this is a point of view of some people, including not just people who are in government, that there could be a way that gradually using the people that are representing these different groups across the country, that they can change the constitution to what it should be. You are saying that everything has to stop, that there shouldn't be election going on. And people are trying to find out, how do you stop it? How do you stop the process? Because next month, there will be primaries. By May, the candidates will be set up. Every political party will have to have a candidate. How do you stop this process to go through what you want the nation to go through before an election?
Yeah, I hear you.
We can hear you again, Tony.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, there's a delay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
If you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
The matter is straightforward. Those who are talking about gradually approach to changing constitution, ask them which constitution they want to change. We have not made any constitution. That's the bottom line. Somebody lied that we have agreed to be in union and put our signature on it as the ones who authored that constitution that took our sovereignty.
All right. Tony's internet is frozen. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll let him answer the question in full, and then we'd let you join the conversation again. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for staying with us. We're having a conversation with Tony Nnadi, who is Tony Nnadi is the co-convener of NINAS. This the group saying that the Constitution of Nigeria has to go down, in their words, before we continue to have elections in the country. I will let him answer the question he was trying to answer before his internet froze, and then we let people in to have a conversation with him. Tony, go ahead.
Yes. I believe I can be heard now.
Yeah.
Okay. The matter is straightforward. There have been 7 cycles of election. Those who are asking, about piecemeal, that Buhari changed, there are 68 items. If you're in Lagos and you have to go to New York, you can choose to trek to some place, or let's even just take London. You have a meeting in Trafalgar Square. You can choose to trek from Lagos. One day you get to Trafalgar Square. You can choose to go on bicycle. You choose to go by canoe. You land in Liverpool at some point and make your way to London. Those are all options. We are saying that there are 68 items in that exclusive list that make life impossible. Every one of them is a different chain. Electricity is what it is in Nigeria today, even with the amendment of Buhari. Why do I have to wait? Okay, you say state can generate electricity, but the gas and the body of water, everything they need to generate that electricity is still on that exclusive list. Why will I have to wait for those who do not wish me development to approve of what I need? Security, police, and everything is on that list. You now say you want to do state police. Where would they find the money to organize the police if the economic assets are still held by that constitution, by that federal government? So the people saying all those things are ignorant and dishonest. They are both ignorant and dishonest. Ignorant because listening to them, you can see they don't know. Dishonest because we have told them enough that they should now know. So if they pretend they do not know and they're inviting us to come and trek with them from Lagos to Trafalgar Square, then we reject that invitation. We say to them that they're dishonest because they know it will not solve the problem. if you go to say who is going to amend the false claim that we submitted our sovereignty into the union? How would that one ever be amended? Or what do you think is behind all the agitations for exit from the union? And if you have not settled that, and you are coming to tell me what else you want to say, what you want to change in the constitution, we have not. The most important thing to settle is the question of union before we begin to talk about the terms of union. How did we arrive at 36 states? For goodness sake, that somebody is now sitting on it and they're saying, who is representing me in that whole equation? I'm now a voiceless minority on account of the constitution that amalgamated me with people who don't want to, who don't think they should discuss with me. Meanwhile, my economic assets now belong to people. The oil and gas of Bayelsa now belong to Jigawa under that constitution. And so, our straight answer to them, the ones who are saying, let us do it gradually. In the next 500 years, if it has taken 20 years to do only one aspect of one subject, because the amendment to the electricity that Buhari did still left the transmission in the hands of the federal government, still left the matter of the raw material for producing that power on that exclusive list in the hands of that federal government. So nothing has changed. They were just playing to the gallery as if they're about to do something. That's the same thing with this state police talk. So that's for that. It's not an option. They are ignorant and they're dishonest. Then we come to the question of what exactly do we do to stop? We've been to elections 7 times since 1999. Things have been going worse and worse. If we're to plot a graph, you see that we're just on a straight slide. The people who get sworn in, the ones who swear to depend on uphold that constitution after the election, you can see how their lives have been growing in leaps and bounds. But the ones who go to do that voting, you can see how their lives have been shrinking. And so we told them that we're telling them even now to say that the only thing we have invited you to do is to say the winner of any election will have to swear to and govern by that constitution. We will not go to renew our enslavement, because it is your enslavement you are going to renew if you proceed to the election. We have preached it. We have tried to get them to see the reason of it, but people are being slaughtered every day on account of that constitution. People are being disrupted every day on account of that constitution. Young people are running away from Nigeria on account of that constitution. The electricity that is failing, the security that is failing, the infrastructure that is failing, everything that is failing, the corruption that is growing in leaps and bounds, the impunity that we see, everything anybody can say is wrong with Nigeria. I'm in a position to point to you the section of that constitution that is responsible for it, and nothing will change, including if Peter Obi becomes president. Peter Obi's presidency will not address the question of me being forced into union by the decree of Fulani people. Peter Obi's presidency will not solve 36 states that now make me voiceless minority. Peter Obi's presidency will not solve the question of electricity for me, no matter how much he desires. I'm citing Peter Obi because Peter Obi it was, of all the presidential candidates, that said that constitution is not the problem. We are telling Peter Obi and anybody who can reach him that he is the one responsible for what has befallen us in dragging us to election in 2023. He is not listening now. He is still trying to drag us to election that the outcome is already fixed. You saw the electoral reform that they did, leaving the back door open. So how will Tinubu repent and now hand over power to him? You saw what they've done they've decapitated all the parties. And you're inviting me into a foolish journey of let us hope. Somehow. What can be more foolish? But the matter has now come to where the victims of unitary Nigeria, those who are being slaughtered in the numbers we read every day. Some of our people can be in the diaspora talking as they choose. But there are people who are living, there are people who are listening to us now, who are not going to be alive tomorrow morning because Fulani will have killed them. And they are all over the country. They are not just in small corner of Meduguri. Go and find out what's going on in Ondo. Go and find out what is going on in Ekiti and Oyo, all the way to Ibadan. So we can sit in the safety of overseas, and we're talking about this matter as if the lives of those who have been killed don't matter. The only way The only viable escape route still available to the rest of Nigeria from the conquest invasion of the Fulani is to shut down that constitution by shutting down this election that is coming. Those who refuse to listen can go ahead campaigning for how they will win election. But those who know that it is the blood of those who are being killed every day that is being sacrificed to get the few politicians, just 1,500 politicians will be sworn in after any election. One president and his vice, 36 governors, the Senate, only 109. The House of Representatives, only 360. Put all of them together. Then go to the state assemblies, bring all of them together, put the numbers together. You are talking about 1,500 people thereabout who will be swearing to defend and uphold the enslavement of more than 230 million people. And people are still discussing that we should keep it like that. Those who know that this is debt, that they are dispensing to others, are going to do whatever it will take, and I say again, whatever it will take to stop them from going to renew the life of that constitution. And anybody who is prepared to swear to defend and uphold the enslavement of others deserves whatever he gets in terms of wanting to play that role, to validate the journey to election, to reinforce the life of that constitution at a time we have done enough in inviting them to reason. They are avoiding the debate. They are avoiding the discussion. And they are throwing all kinds of sentiments around. Oh, it's our turn. Why don't we go and take our turn? Turn at what? To preside over the rape? Or what do you think is this criminal enterprise's business? Nigeria become a criminal enterprise under that constitution. Because if it is a lie that we submitted our lands and our people into this union, and we're saying we dissolve the union except we go to fix it. Before it was, let us fix it so it doesn't collapse. But since after that force majeure, it has become, this union stands dissolved except somebody brings something that can fix it. Those who want Odua Republic, those who want Biafra Republic, those who want restructuring, those who want good governance, the roadblock to all of them, the granite roadblock, is the constitution that settles everything to the contrary. And we're inviting all of them to do the simple thing. The United States government had the discipline to sit down for 7 whole months. I had the privilege of addressing a committee on Capitol Hill, the very people who are now discussing the Nigeria that has brought the US military on the soil of Nigeria to take out the terror that is flowing from that constitution in the hands of the Fulani that are orchestrating it. And the people who are the victims of that situation don't have the discipline to listen, to learn, to know anything other than sentiments. And so the few who know are going to act alone. The only thing that will change is the collateral damage. Those who shouldn't have suffered, those who shouldn't have died, may have to suffer, may have to die because of the refusal of those who are refusing to listen now, to listen. But on behalf of the millions and millions of those who do not know differently, those who are doing obedient movement, those who are doing Biafra of foolishness, of stupidity, you want freedom from a monster. There's a plan that has identified the life of that monster to be taken out. That plan has been taken to places you can't get to. We went all the way to the UN Security Council. We went all the way to where Washington decisions will have to be taken. The President of the United States mandated an interrogation of the proposition we brought. And it became the policy that is being implemented today. And the people that are trying to help are busy just making noise all over the internet.
Tony, welcome back.
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay. So you ready? So let's go to questions or comments from our our audience members. Let me start with you, Chim. Go ahead.
Rudolph, good day, and good day, Tony Nnadi. It's a pleasure to meet you. I started listening to you, I think it was during the COVID lockdown, because a lot of your videos were circulating around within that period. So that's way back 2020. Right. So this is 6 years counting from then. And while lots of there's nobody who comes from the geographical location referred to as Nigeria today that would not agree that a lot of things are wrong with the country and need to be addressed. But one question people keep asking is how are we going to go about it, especially when we have an elite and a political system that is still legitimately recognized globally. You know, we might have our different interpretations of whether a president is illegitimate or not, but that person, as long as he has been sworn in by the instrumentalities of government, seemingly is recognized globally and is carrying out business on behalf of the entity referred to as Nigeria. But my question to you is this. In your calls for the review, or I don't know if I'm correct to say the dissolution of the entity referred to as Nigeria, I've consistently heard you talk about the fact that the union has expired. You've used that word expired a lot. And you're referencing that expiration to the 1914 amalgamation procedure and process. I have never really fully understood it. So please, in case you have said it and I missed it, maybe you give me a bit of an education on why do you keep referring to the union as expired? And that is a need to refresh and review if we should continue and all of that. But the thing is this, are these your calls, are they globally recognized? It's because you've been at this struggle and this commentary for a while, but I haven't really seen anything. I haven't heard of the United Nations call for a referendum in Nigeria. I really haven't seen anything, but lots of you are working. So educate me, why do you always refer to the whole thing as an expiration of a union? That's one. And then to what extent is the global community really listening to your group and other groups out there and how this thing should be done?
Well, the matter is straightforward. If you, I don't know when you joined this program, even just this program. At the beginning, a video was played of where the flagship news outlet in Nigeria, Arise TV, was reporting the event of 2021 when NINAS had to go to camp out at the UN 76 General Assembly. Buhari was attending, and we had to go to confront him at the place, having informed the UN Security Council that our union is now disputed, that this fellow here is entirely on his own. That video clip was played at the beginning of this program. If you hadn't joined then, go to the replay and you will see it, that it was reported what we were doing and how it had impacted, how it went to the global arena. Just in case you didn't hear anything again, wherever you put your own attention is where it will be. But there's no day that things are not alone here. The constitutional force majeure, which had the presence of the leaderships of all the groups across the length and breadth of Nigeria that are not satisfied with what Nigeria is offering them. They are together doing what they were not. We're not calling for anything. We are taking the self-determination actions that can be taken within the rules, and it doesn't matter what we are not talking about the review of, because you framed, you know, when you frame the premises, you land with wrong premises, you land in wrong conclusion. The campaign of NINAS is straightforward. It is about the constitution of Nigeria of now, the one of 1999. We are saying it must go down to terminate the union that is anchored on it. The union of 1914, by 1960, they had handed over power. any reference to 1914 in terms of, expiration was just a matter of saying even the people that put the union together knew that what they were putting together may not work. It wasn't designed to work, and so we have gone past whatever was inflicted by 1914. At the point of 1960, we began to do things by ourselves. What we are dealing with now is the constitutions that we made by ourselves, not Britain, and the one that is there now. We can't be talking about the ones that are gone by. The one that is there now, which if we find a way to tackle in March of 2026, will terminate the union. The reason we call Nigeria Union of 1914 was that was when the first mischief was done. And then people were empowered to hold others hostage in that union. The British that are still presiding over that enterprise, Nigeria was an offshore criminal enterprise of the British. Nigeria was with the documents, this is a global platform we're speaking on. The documents that justify what I'm saying, and I'm not saying it lightly. I'm saying it because we are in possession of the documents that justify saying it. If Charles and who is the one that is at Downing Street, if they are sitting in a room, this is exactly what we will tell them. This is exactly what I will tell them. That's what we have had to tell their high commissioners in Nigeria. Ask Katrina Leon and the Pocock before him and before her and all the people. We used to confront them here. Twice they've been recalled from Nigeria because we confronted them as they were meddling in the affairs of those who have the inalienable right to their sovereignty, those who have the inalienable right to their self-determination. And so it's not we're not in one corner urgent. It took more than 250 years to lock us down into this bad arrangement. And so if it's taken some time, you say you started watching in 2020 or 20 with the COVID, it took centuries from the time the slave trade ended and colonial venture was beginning. The treaties that became culminated in 1914 were all done in the 1860s thereabouts, and then by 1914 they brought everything together. So it took that length of time to do. If you can't draw up a plan, that will go deeper than what those who locked us into this bad arrangement, we can't be coming. It's not something you do with ad hoc. You come in the morning and say, okay, then the next day you come again with no plan. We have a plan. We're executing that plan. We've gone everywhere we need to go. We have a country-wide consensus against that constitution. We have a country-wide consensus against the Fulani that are killing everybody, standing on the strength of that constitution. And we have been able to carry that discussion to where those who have the capacity to enforce things began to listen to us. You think we were sleeping in one corner of the internet, and then the US now moved their military to come and sit in Nigeria discussing your constitution, discussing the Fulani, discussing Sharia? Or didn't you hear the hearings on Capitol Hill? So your questions are basically they founded on if you research a little more, you will have known what we are doing. We are not begging anybody. We are mobilizing the victims of unitary Nigeria to retrieve their sovereignty, which is inalienable. I'm a lawyer, not just a lawyer, with specialty in that area of law called jurisprudence. And I'm telling you what the rules are. I've been privileged to walk all the way into the UN, where that instrument on self-determination came from. Soyinka is still alive. I had the privilege of requesting Soyinka to go to Kofi Annan when Kofi was a secretary at the UN. That's how that instrument on self-determination came in 2007 as a part of this process. So it's a very deep process that has covered all the flanks. The only people remaining to listen and to learn and to be part of it are the victims of that very calamity. They don't have the discipline to learn what they don't know. They believe in speculation and emotions.
All right.
Next
question. Thank you. Thank you so much. What I'm doing is I see some people back end. I'm limiting the number of people I bring up to 2 so that the internet will be stable because I think that will help us. Let me come to you, Mr. James. You are next.
Yes, I'm sure you can hear me, Mr. Nnadi. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, I think he can. Go ahead.
Good. Thank you very much for coming. You've spoken well. I will not ask you any question. I just want to draw your attention to something. I will cite 2 or 3 examples before I bring something to your attention.
Tony, you can hear him?
Tony, can you? Coming through.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear him at all.
Oh, but you can hear me.
Whatever he says.
Yes, okay. I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, James.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, please?
No, I don't think he can. Oh, why should I be? Okay, ask your question. Maybe I will repeat it for him. I'll make it.
Okay, I just want to draw his attention to something. I will cite about 2 or 3 examples before I bring something to his attention. When Sunday Adewusi was, I think, Inspector General of Police also in Nigeria many years ago, journalists were interviewing him on the tactics they use in arresting armed robbers. He replied then that he will not be able to divulge the tactics because it will make the armed robbers wiser. That was during the Second Republic. I think 1990 or thereabout, I was a teacher at Muslim High School in Banjul, the Gambia. A group of policemen came to our school to educate the children on why they should not take to drug trafficking. So at the end of the speech, a student asked the policeman, "How do you catch drug traffickers at the airport?" He repeated what Sunday Adewusi said years ago, that I will not be able to disclose it because it will make the drug traffickers wiser. And now there's war going on in Iran. While the Iranians were preparing for the war, nobody knew what they were doing. They did it underground. That's why they are able to take their enemies unawares right now. Now, you've done wonderfully well. You've told us all you've done, all you've been doing behind the scene, but I'm a bit uncomfortable because you are divulging too much of what you have been doing. You've gone to America, you've done quite a lot at the United Nations. These things should be strictly confidential. When they before they imposed the Constitution on you and me, we never knew what they were doing. They took us unawares. So there is need for us to keep a lot of things under the carpet. So this is just what I want to draw your attention to. I will not bother you with questions because you've done wonderfully well, and I sincerely wish you well. Thank you very much indeed.
All right, Tony, he didn't have any, there was no question for you, but he wished you well. He said you did very well. All right, let's go to Rebecca. I'm bringing you in because I think it looks as if you are joining us from Nigeria. That's why I brought you first. But go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Damages. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm not talking from Nigeria. I'm talking from Asia.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, here should be almost 3 a.m. on Monday.
Wow.
And the YouTube channel I'm using is my wife's name, not my name.
Okay.
My real name is Osaro Brown Saro Ezeko. I'm from Benin.
Okay.
And I'm a full hardcore member of NINAS. And I don't have any question to ask. I only want to applaud Mr. Tony. Regarding what Mr. James said, that Mr. Tony is revealing most of the plans or whatever. Those things Mr. Tony is saying are things that have been done. And to me, what I believe is, fine, when you have a plan, you won't say the plan until the plan has been executed. Those plans have already been executed. So Mr. Tony revealing them now is not something that is bad. I'm just saying that regarding to Mr. James. And for me, I'm only pleading to our people because we have a problem. It's a very simple. We just have to be logical and not sentiment. We have a problem. We who want Biafra, we who want resource control, we who want to whatever we want, or good governance or corruption or impunity or whatever thing we are complaining, there's a tap route. Why not go for the tap route, which is the Constitution? Okay, fine. If I was able to speak to Mr. What's his name? I used to see his Facebook Woto or whatever, Magnus or Ruka. And I called, that was last week, and later he contacted me and I was trying to talk to him. The reason was because I came across his video, which he talked about Mr. Tony and all that, and I knew, this man knew about NINAS. Then why are you playing pranks on the social media? So after talking to him, I know he was dishonest. So the plan is this: let's face the truth. The truth is this, that we are all in captivity. Let's free ourselves. I'm not saying NINA's plan is the best plan. If anybody have any other plan that will rescue all of us, then we'll go for it. But if there's no any other plan now, why not go for what is available? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go to Tony. Tony, you're next.
Thank you, Dr. Damages. Greetings, Tony Nnadi. I have listened to you. I have a question for you, and that is that if we discard the Constitution in all its entirety,
Yeah.
you are saying...
Are you calling another guest?
Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Rudolph?
Yeah, Tony, we have someone here. His name is also Tony. So he's the one who is trying to ask you a question. Okay, we lost him. All right.
Okay, Rudolph, I'll ask the question and then you can put it to him because it seems to, yeah. My question really is that he has said, just listening to him, that the problem that we have is basically the Constitution. And so if we discard this Constitution, then Nigeria, the entire problem, I'm trying to read into what he's been saying, then the problems that we are having, the challenges that we're having would all disappear. I don't agree with that. So on what basis is he making that statement? Because there are issues outside the Constitution. I'm knowing that there is no Constitution that is not perfect. So to say or suggest that the entire problem we have is just the Constitution, for me, is unacceptable. Maybe he needs to clarify that for me. Thank you.
All right. While we wait for him to come on, let me bring back everybody who is in the studio. But I'm not speaking for them, but I think I hear them say, not just Tony, but other people say that the first issue they have with the Constitution is that it says at the beginning, we the people, and that we the people did not at any point sit down and say, we are approving this Constitution, we wrote this Constitution, we agreed with this. That's one of their main issues. I forgot your name now, Rebecca. Remind me. You can, since you're a member of NINAS, you can take on this while we wait for Tony to join us.
Yeah, my name is Osaro Brown Izeko. I'm from Benin. The problem is this, sir. I understood what Mr. Tony or the other man, the Papa who spoke. The problem is this, sir. Constitution is a union. Like my land now, Benin land. What made Benin land Nigeria is the Constitution. What all the indigenous people, what make you in Nigeria is the Constitution. And if I'm not a lawyer, I have the Constitution here. And I've been following NINAS for years. So let's assume that, okay, now we can't even govern or elect who govern us. Check all the people who comes to Nigeria, whether councillor, to House of Assembly, to governor, to chairman, to National Assembly or senators. If you check many of them, they are all criminals. People have criminal records everywhere. Just like I'm here, I'm in Asia. Let's assume I'm doing all good. I don't want to use English. And I make money. And I come to Nigeria. I'll be recognized. I have a lot of friends like that who have made money here. Blowing siren everywhere in Nigeria. That's not a normal society. If such people can become governors tomorrow, and what would they do? Criminals. let's just use our president. So most of the things, I won't say 100%, but 90% of Nigeria problem is flowing from the constitution.
All right.
Let's assume now we elect you.
Yeah, hold on. Since Tony is
you are
here,
going to govern to the according to the system and structure of the constitution. You cannot change anything. I will let Mr. Tony continue.
Yeah, thank you, Brown. Okay, Tony, I don't know if you had a
what
question.
was the discussion?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. Tony is back just for 5 minutes. I'll give him the chance to round up his thought and the way he thinks that the movement is going to achieve its goal, knowing that elections is coming up, or what he wants Nigerians to know and that Nigerians to do at this point. So, Tony, it's unfortunate for those who have other questions. The internet is not doing very well. He just wants to round up his thoughts, and then we will continue the conversation. Tony, go ahead.
Right, thank you. For those who have been asking, how exactly do we get to do this? The matter is straightforward. NINAS is inviting all of those who reject what Nigeria is dishing out to them, whether it's young people that are fleeing in all kinds of directions, or those who seek, to have republics of their own, or Dua Republic, Biafra Republic, or those who seek just good governance. None of those things will happen under this constitution, and the politicians will continue to go to election. But you are the one that will go to vote in that election. You are the one that will live in the aftermath of that election. And we're saying we've gone 7 rounds of those. Why not, for once, we listen to ourselves to say, since that constitution is directly responsible for every single thing we complain about, whether it's killings or corruption or impunity, or even the one of mass impoverishment, because you can see that the politicians in government house are just taking everything for themselves, because the constitution also makes them unaccountable to you. So there's really nothing you can do than to lament about what they are doing with the Commonwealth, with the Treasury, with their powers. And so NINAS is inviting everybody who thinks that Nigeria is not working well to take only one step. Can you join those who say we can't go to renew the life of that constitution by going to election under it? Just say it. Don't say if sufficient numbers of people will say it. The people who are here to help us, that's why they're discussing it in those terms, to say what kind of constitution put the gun in the hand of the Fulani man. You can't allow that constitution to stand there, empowering the Fulani to kill, and you turn around to say you are going to vote in an election. We're not talking about boycott here so that we make the difference. Some are thinking it's boycott, or if you don't vote, other people will vote. We are saying voting is in February or January of 2027. If in March, if in April of 2026, you come along with those who are already in to say this politician, all the political parties subscribe to this constitution without exception, PDP, APC, Labour Party, all of them subscribe to this constitution. All the politicians who are going to be contesting election subscribe to this constitution. The only people who are not part of that crime are the ones who will agree with us to say this constitution is the source of our problem. We're not going to renew the life of that constitution by going to election under it in 2027. That's all we have asked you to do. That's all we have asked those who are crying about everything they are crying about to do. If they refuse to do it, the people who are coming to help us, that's what we told them we're going to get them to do. The transition that will be in place of election is what we need to enact. There's nothing left to be done. Once we say we can't go, once we say we won't go, there's no other thing that will happen than a transition. We're not asking those in government house to leave. We're not anarchists. The plan is fully articulated for what will happen from that day. They will go and do what South Africa did with apartheid in 1990. That's all that will happen. And the outcome of it will be that the owners of the sovereignty, that's the 5-point proposition of NINAS, contains what will happen from what we have to insist that we can proceed on the basis of that constitution, pretending we have a democracy, pretending we have a union, pretending that it will get better tomorrow. No, that we stop now. we allow those in government house to remain while we go discuss what will become the replacement for that constitution. The alternative, in case anybody thinks we are going to be folding our hands and begging them, people who are being killed, people who are being shot and killed in the places where they're being killed, sooner than later, they are going to take up guns, and because that constitution that used to restrict them is what we have defeated. Sooner than later, it will become disorderly. People are going to try to save their own lives by taking laws into their hands. Then it becomes Somalia. And so we're in a position to avoid that. Even if we go to this election, from what we have seen, you saw how the ruling party had decapitated all the other parties, which was what Abacha did before. They worked the other parties to death. So who is coming to compete with the people now? But you can overtake all of them by saying this constitution is what we reject. We're not going to election. They will be the ones looking for what will happen, because from the point of the collapse of that constitution, people can actually raise their flags and leave the union. The union is dead. It's just been enforced on account of the ignorance of those who do not know the status of that constitution and what it means to union. We have no union right now. If sufficient numbers of people will gather themselves, they can leave the union. But we don't want a disorder, because if one person is leaving and another one is leaving through the other door, it may become something criminals and even international actors will take advantage of and set fire to now take us back to where we've come out from. And so we're saying the simple thing to do is that 5-point proposition of NINAS spells out what has to happen. We are not going to election on account of our rejection of this constitution. If we do that, that is when the help that the US is offering us now can produce the outcome, because they will go after their own targets. They are not coming here to govern us. It is we that will reject that constitution. That's what they're expecting us to do. They've been expecting us to do that since 2019. Because we are not listening to ourselves, we are doing all the wrong things. NINAS is inviting us even now to tell the politicians that the election will not solve this problem. Let's go and deal with the constitution. Let's go to transition. Let's go to rework what will become the constitution by allowing the owners of the sovereignty for the first time to be the ones to decide. And if we're not doing that, the union stands dissolved. They must know that we can't carry on with the union of debt that Gumi and Syed Abubakar are prescribing for us. I think that's where we want to wind it up today. It's within our reach to do. The US already listened in full, and they're expecting us to do what we need to do in rejecting that constitution, so that it becomes something that they will either stand with us or stand with the people who are using the constitution to cause the havoc that has brought them to town. It's as simple as that. Thank you for having me today.
All right. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you and the time you spent with us. Hopefully next time we will give you more time, or your internet will be better and we can have more interaction with the audience. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we will review some of the things that that Tony said that happened, and we go from there. Thank you, Tony.